Our Computex 2026 coverage wouldn't be possible without our sponsors Dell Alienware, Montech, NZXT, and Cooler Master. Be sure to show them some love via the description. Welcome to the World Trade Center. This is another area, another exhibition hall here at Computex 2026, and we are here to see Montech. They've got a super cool illuminated booth here off to the right in green. We've done quite a bit of stuff with Montech in the past. We've built in some of their PC cases. We've used their power supplies. The reason why we are here is because of them. So big shout out to Montech. Show them some love in the description. For now, let's go check out what they've got. Now, one of the cases that put Montech on the map several years ago was the King 95, and this is a pretty sweet tribute to that. This is the King 95 3D, and well, the name speaks for itself. 3 panes of tempered glass, a nice curved effect as well here. You can see that there's very little in the way of obstruction for viewing, especially from that upper third. There's a lot of hardware support in here, as you might expect. You even get room for a 360 mil above the motherboard tray. So typically, one of the downsides of a top tempered glass panel is the lack of cooling support up there. You can't mount fans, you can't mount a radiator. So what Montech's done to solve that problem is still allowed you to see things from the top, but then mount your radiator above the motherboard for a similar, at least, cooling effect. So you got fresh air coming in from below and then have it all exhaust through the radiator out the top. So a lot of that CPU heat is immediately evacuated. That also allows fresh air for the graphics card as well, which seems like the all-around best approach in terms of thermals for this case. Now, this is the F738 Vision. What I really like about this is that it takes a giant leap forward in terms of aesthetics. It sort of compromises somewhat in terms of functionality, and I'll show you that in a second, but this is unlike anything I've seen before from a mid-tower. So you might be thinking, well, Greg, this looks like a traditional mid-tower. What's so special about it? Well, there's a huge gap underneath the upper portion of this chassis. So the basement is actually mostly detached from what's above. Now, you can see there is a bit of wobble here. There is a bit of instability. It's not huge. Of course, you have to reinforce the right side of the chassis in order to keep this from truly leaning over. Montech includes this little support here, which you could leave in, but they mainly do it for shipping purposes to ensure that nothing happens if the case is ordered and delivered to your house. But overall, I think it's a clever design. You still get 2 panes of tempered glass wedged next to each other. I think you get 3 fans included as well, and you can see they've totally kitted this one out. Plenty of RGB. You can still mount a radiator along the side, along the top. You get an exhaust fan at the rear, and you can get fresh intake from below because of this gap. So like I said, it is an aesthetic play. Again, there is a bit of compromise in terms of structural rigidity. We'll see if that's fleshed out by the time this comes to market. But one obvious upside is the fact that you now have an ability for that fresh air that you're really looking for, especially for the graphics card, to get pulled in from below. So it's a clever take. Will it stick? Will they be able to fix some of the structural changes? I'm pretty confident Montech can do it. Now, this is a 10. This is actually already for sale, but Montech wanted to show you different iterations of this chassis. I believe this is around $70 US today, but you can see they've actually added a 10 Aura variant, and this adds LEDs, very subtle, along the lower lip of the frame. I think that is super cool, and you see this one's in white. It's got a nice silver texture as well, metallic feel. And then they have a 10 wood, which adds a wood finish. So I think this is gonna be a $10 addition, so to speak, over the original 10. I think this is gonna be a $20 addition. The wood, they're saying, is a bit more expensive, but I think this looks extremely clean. You guys know wood PCs, that's like a thing now. Montech is not letting it slide. Now, this is the TG3. There's actually 2 variants of it. The plain old TG3, which is my personal favorite, and the TG3 curved. I think this is a real showstopper here for the price and incredible chassis. So the TG3 actually has 2 panes of tempered glass, a very clean finish, both up top and below. You get plenty of ventilation, as well as along the side near the motherboard tray. You can see you get integrated LEDs along the basement, and then a huge lack of a platform up front, which is going to be perfect for staging anything like an action figure or a car or something like that. A huge pump reservoir combo, and it's only 60 bucks, which is, that's a phenomenal feat. I don't know how they do that. They've got to be losing money on this chassis. The TG3, folks. And then the curved variant adds about $20 to $30 in the price, but it also has curved glass and more integrated LEDs that run along the top and bottoms of the chassis. Of course, you can get either of these in black or white. I gotta say, the plain old TG3, this is really doing it for me. I think you also get, yeah, that's the other thing, I almost forgot. you actually get a really cool setup of fans in here as well. So one exhaust fan and a unified 360 mil, so three 120s unified together, fan combo up front, and that's set to, I believe, intake. I think these are actually reverse blade. It is incredible the amount of value that you get out of the TG3. I think it's going to be, again, one of Montech's best sellers, and for good reason. And we've used Montech power supplies quite a bit in the past. These are their Century 2s, and I actually really like this design, even though you're probably not going to see it in your build, but they're offering different wattage variants as well. So anything between 550 and 750 watts, and these are 80 plus gold certified. You can see they also are fully modular, and they include the 12 volt high power standard, which is cool for newer graphics cards. And then closer over here, you'll find their PLA variants. These are essentially the same. They use the same housings, they're the same size, but they're platinum rated, which means they're much more efficient, especially at lower power draws. Now these are Montech's Link fans. I think these are called the Infinities. And the reason why is because you get that infinity mirror effect on the side, which I actually just noticed. So that's a very cool design choice. One other thing I really like about these is that they are super easy to detach, actually fully magnetic, which is clutch. You know, a lot of these sort of like cableless fans, got that backwards, will like clip in sort of like sideways. It's kind of annoying to do. The fact that you can literally just pull these apart and then clip them together again, I sort of kind of cooked that one. There we go. That's pretty straightforward. I even messed that one up and it still went together very quickly. So I think this is a big improvement over other sort of like cableless fans I've used in the past. Oh, and if you're curious about pricing for these, you can get a set of 3, including the RGB hub, which you'll need if you want to, again, connect multiples of these, for about 70 bucks. You want individual fans, a little north of 20. I'm not sure what Montech calls this wall. I call it the experiment wall. This is stuff that they are working on, more or less prototypes, things that they are testing the waters for. One of these being this really, really large screened AIO. This thing looks like a cell phone. In fact, I'm gonna put my phone next to it just for scale. Yeah, it's basically the size of an iPhone 15. That's pretty wild. Again, this isn't something you could buy today. They're trying to feel out the consumer base. So if you guys have an opinion about, say, this one, or for example, the smaller screen one, maybe you're partial to one or the other, that feedback can be super useful to Montech. Also, wow, I can feel the fluid churning in these tubes big time. They've got this sync bar here, and I'm not sure really what you would use it for or where you would mount it, but it is an idea, and this ties into software that Montech is also working on. They're trying to unify all of their products so that they can all be controlled via a single software suite. I think that's forward-looking for Montech, and that's a good thing because they're really trying to solidify their place, especially in US markets, and I think that's a logical direction given the scope of their product lines. They've got this really cool curved one as well. Looks similar to others we've built with in the past. I think it's implemented very well at that because the screen resolution is pretty darn good. Again, just a prototype. You'll see some some plastic bits here and there bowing out, but I think the idea is sound. It makes sense, right? They're competing with a lot of different manufacturers that are coming out with cool designs like this. So the fact that they're experimenting is a good sign. These things are bumping right now. So this is a Cyberflow ARGB. They have an ARGB and a non-ARGB variant. What I really like about this is you get active VRM MOSFET cooling with an integrated fan over the AIO block, and it's totally toolless. You can detach it with ease. It also sticks back on magnetically. I think that's very cool. And the price point's extremely competitive, somewhere in the $80 price range. I believe the RGB variant is a little north of that price, but overall I think a very competitive offer for a 360mm variant. They're also coming out with a 240 if you are curious. I can't get over how cool this booth is. Like, this stuff literally is built in hours. It is incredible. I remember I came here a few years ago and I watched a company set up a booth from scratch, literally from just bare concrete, and it took probably 12 hours, and it was even bigger than this one. It's crazy what these companies come up with, and all the LED lighting and stuff like that. I mean, that's not easy to do, and it's doing its job, frankly. It's attracting an audience. Montech is super busy right now, and I imagine it's gonna stay that way for the remainder of the show. And to round things out, this is a bunch of fans arranged in the number 10. Now 10 is significant because for Montech, that is their 10-year anniversary. They've been building, selling products for 10 years. Now, they were honest and upfront at the start. They were just slapping their name on things. They were just relabeling stuff and shipping it out. They've really earned their keep. Now, everything that they sell is their own. It's their own tooling, and I think that's a really cool way to end this entire show, right? Computex means a lot of things for a lot of different companies. For Montech, It's about solidifying their place in the market. They've been around for 10 years, and I think that's so cool that they're paying homage to it here. Some companies you've heard of and have been around for 20 plus years. Other companies are just starting out. But regardless, Computex is the perfect place to advertise your products, to advertise your company to the world. Folks here love tech, they love people, they love crowds. You gotta love crowds to be here, and it's never not been exciting. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for coming along for the ride. The next video you see will likely be back in the office, but I appreciate your patience, and thanks for traveling with me.